All right, so today I'm going to be packing up my kit. Now, if you're curious about what a makeup artist like myself has in their kits, this is a great place to be because I'm going to go through all of it. I'm going to kind of show you the sort of materials that I like to use, some of those must-have things that I have to have on set. I'm going to show you how I get my boxes to and from either a background station or a trailer. I'm going to kind of show you all of those things because I'm getting ready to go on a job in a couple weeks. So I just kind of want to show you how I pack up my kit for something like that, what I have found to be a good way to organize things. So stick around and we're going to have some fun with this. Hi, my name is Adam Walls and I'm an award-winning makeup artist. You may have seen my work in NCIS New Orleans. Are you curious about how to pack up your makeup kit if you're day playing on a project, or if you're going on location for an extended period of time? Well, come with me today on Off the Walls Effects. We're going to figure it out. All right, so let's get into it. All things kit related. Now, things are going to look a little bit differently. Most of this video I recorded a couple weeks ago, but as you can see, this is not my usual recording area. I'm actually on location, and this is my lovely hotel room. So anyway, what we're going to talk about today is your kit. What is a day playing kit? What do you need to have in your day playing kit? What do you need in an effects kit? What do you need in a beauty kit? I'm going to go through all of those things, and at the end of each one of these sections, I'm actually going to have a place card holder, and I'm going to go through all of the must-have items. Now, granted, these are the things that I like to use. You can use something different. I know other people use other different things, but these are the kind of the rock bottom basics that you need to have a functioning kit to do pretty much 90 to 95% of what you need to do on a daily basis. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through how to pack up your kit for a remote job. Obviously, I'm here remote right now, and it's only like a 2-week job, so this is a kind of relatively short one. So I didn't need a ton for this, but I'll show you how I packed up my kit. I'm also going to show you how to pack up your kit for a longer job. I have another one coming up later in this year that's going to be several months, and I'm going to be out of the state. So that's going to be one of those jobs that I'm going to show you how to pack up your kit for that, how to efficiently get that going. I'm also going to talk about how that differs from if you're going to go internationally, and I'm going to go through a couple things with that too. So go ahead, sit back, relax, and we're going to go ahead and get into this, and we'll start going through the kit. All right, so here's one of my makeup bags. Now, this company is fantastic because these bags have got so many little pockets and grooves and little areas to put tons of different product, and then it travels nicely in this very compact bag. So I'm going to open this thing up. This is my primary beauty bag, and I'm going to show you everything I got in it. Now, one of the things I really like about this bag is I'm set up. I literally just open it up. So when I load into a trailer or I load into a background station, I can just load in with my bags, put them up on the station, open it up, and I'm ready to go. Sure, put down your palette, put down a setup towel or a paper towel or something like that. But for the most part, I can open this up and I'm ready to go. As you can see, I've got all my brushes in there, a little bit of everything for anything I can need, everything from eyeshadow to lip brushes to powder brushes, you know, the whole 9 yards, a couple specialty ones in there as well. And I'll start going through the product a little bit too, just to kind of show you things that I find myself using on a pretty regular basis. First off, I do like Makeup Forever products, so I do have a handful of these Makeup Forever palettes, which I do get some decent use out of. It's got some great colors in there. I have a secondary one for more adjuster colors, which is another great thing to use. Plus, they're compact and they travel well. Again, so much of what we do on set is about how can you pack all this stuff to get it to fit and travel well so you can do everything you need to do. In addition to this, I do enjoy the eyeshadow primers. Urban Decay makes a good one. You know, sometimes you'll notice that people get eyeshadow kind of stuck up in the crease in their eye. I find that this does a pretty good job of preventing that from happening. And also, I found myself having to touch up eyeshadow a heck of a lot less during the day if I use this product. So this is a good thing to have. It's small. I've got a handful of powders and pressed powders and things like that. This Black Opal is a great product. It's a great kind of indivisible oil blocking powder. This thing gets a lot of use Also, it's great for going over prosthetics and transfers and things like this. This will help get that shine away if you try to touch up somebody really quick on set. That's a good thing to have in your kit. I do like these are really well used, which I might be ready for some new ones. But I do like these MAC concealer palettes. These are the Concealer Pro palettes, I believe. They've got some really nice colors in here, spread well. They do great as an under eye concealer. Also, if you're trying to cover a spot or two on an actor, if they've got a little pimple or a blemish, this is a good product to use for that. And again, it'll come in darker colors, kind of a mid-tone color, or a very light color, depending on your actor who's coming in. I do have a handful of generic foundations here that I don't use all that often. I do really like these Makeup Forever foundations though. Little squeeze tubes, easy, compact size, but they also set up very nicely in my kit here. And then over here, I've got a handful of eyeshadows. And then back here, a handful of eyeshadows, a contour palette or two in here. I'm going to point out one eyeshadow palette that I love to use. So this is a Viseart eyeshadow palette. This is kind of the workhorse of any beauty makeup I usually do. This thing can work for, you know, going out glamour makeup. This can work on more of an effectsy makeup. I know in Guardians 3, Mike Ornelas, who is doing the Mantis makeup in that, I think there were 4 base colors in here that he uses for Mantis's eye. And this was the only eyeshadow palette he used for that, in addition to obviously the lashes that she wore for that as well. This is a great palette to have. Colors are great, spreads well, lasts a long time. It's a really, really great palette. And then if you want to kind of expand it, because this is such a great palette, there is also a more colorful Viseart palette. So if you really want to start playing with your colors a little bit, this is another good one to have as well. If you check the link in the bio, I've got links to all of these products that you can get online. These Viseart palettes are fantastic, and I get a lot of use out of those. And then, of course, I've got some shinier stuff, some more glittery stuff in here. Another product that I really like to use is this Bye Bye Redness. This product is fantastic. It does a great job of eliminating red. I was actually talking to my daughter just earlier. I was telling her about this stuff, and I said the cool thing about it, if you have an actor that goes out and spends maybe a little too much time at the pool over the weekend, this is a game changer right here. But they have a couple different colors of those. I usually keep those in my bag too. Of course, all my brushes here. Another great thing about this bag is this whole compartment up top. More pockets, more areas for storage. I have my cape in here, which of course you need your cape. Little extra storage here. Got a lip palette, just a bronzer, another little lotion, setting spray, a healing and repair cream in here. But again, you can keep some bigger, bulkier items that aren't necessarily going to fit down here up in this big area here. So again, one of the great things about this bag is just, again, all the different areas that you can store things. The last thing I'll point out is, let's say you have continuity photos, like a big 8x10 of what your makeup is supposed to look like, and you don't have an extra book bag or something like that. Well, great. You've got this pocket back here that you can slide all the way back. And in fact, oh, look at that. I have some Dermadots in there. I forgot I put those in there. But again, another great little pocket for some bulkier items. Now this is my second makeup bag for straight makeup. And this is essentially where I keep all of my eyebrow pencils, any lip colors, mascara. I've got some beard products in here, some beard wax and some beard balm from 1821. This stuff is great to use. Roussel makes great hair products, so I've got some beard serum in there. Some Overflow foundation palettes, little Overflow eyeshadow palette that's in there too. This is a good Overflow bag, but it's primarily lips, eyes, and brows in here, so I kind of segment them off that way. And then of course I've got some expendables up here as well. And then up top, I've got a whole bunch of eyeliners and eye pencils. I've got some more contour stuff in here as well. Again, just like that bigger bag, there's a top pocket in this one too, so I can put just a little bit of everything. And again, it's one of those things that I can easily put this bag underneath my station if I'm not using it, or if I am actively using it, I can keep it up here. And again, it's another bag that I can have up displayed on my station, basically showing that I'm ready to go. All right, so let's go through your beauty kit essentials. Now, these essentials basically will allow you to kind of work a standard background day if you're just going in to do straight makeup. I would try to bring a generic foundation palette of some sort, just something with a range of colors. You can use this for spot hitting little things. You could do some light coverage with it. Just having a range of colors is really helpful because you're going to have a range of people sitting in your chair. I would say the same thing with your liquid foundations. Have a handful that you have on hand, ranging from light to dark. That way you can mix and match and kind of match people's skin tones accordingly. I like the Black Opal Invisible Pressed Powder because it works with just about everybody and does a really good job of A, setting your makeup, and B, getting rid of any shine. Having a concealer palette that covers light, medium, and dark skin tones, or having 3 different palettes that do those things for you, that's really helpful to have on hand. That Viseart Neutral Mattes eyeshadow palette, super key. I use this thing on everybody. I use it all the time. You can probably do about 95% of the makeups that you do on set with that palette alone. I would say throw another eyeshadow palette in there of some sort, something a little bit of shimmer to it, so you can kind of give that eyeshadow a little bit of pop if need be. That's super helpful to have. I would bring a lip color palette of some sort. Essentially, that way you can go ahead and match any sort of lip tone you could possibly need. It sure beats carrying a ton of different lipsticks or a ton of different lip pencils. If you have one palette that has a handful of colors in there that you can mix and match and make your own, it's a great way to go. I'd have 3 to 4 brow pencils of various colors, ranging from light to dark. That way you can match any sort of hair tone in brows. I'd bring a mascara. I would bring a waterproof mascara as well. A moisturizer, a makeup cape, a variety of makeup brushes that you like, brush cleaner, some 99% alcohol, some 70% alcohol for sterilization, and some hand sanitizer. And those are kind of the basic things that you need out of your beauty kit that will get you through any sort of day that you have on set. And here's the thing about these bags. It's not just for your straight makeup stuff. I have all of my effects stuff in here as well, and I want to show you kind of how I pack all that in. So I have all my effects brushes up top. I've got most of my solvents right here. My little Makeup Forever flash color palette if I need. I've got pens and Sharpies and tattoo pens over on this side. Little Dermalogica Active Moist, good thing to have. Some Opsite tape I usually keep in here as well, so in case you need to quickie glue down a bald cap, or if you've got an area that's lifting, I've got this tape that I can use. If I need to make a blood gag really quick, I've got this tape in here that I can use. Again, duct tape of makeup effects right here. The other thing I have in here, of course, extra CC cups. I always need these. I go through these a lot. So I had that in here, some eye drops. I have my little blender cup. And I have another one in here for 99% alcohol, both labeled so you don't mix them up. You don't want to mix up your blender and your 99, that's for sure. My little cleanup bowl, so I'm ready to clean up a prosthetic at the end of the night. This is what I put my remover in. A couple of these little bowls, which I usually use for no color powder, but you can also use them if you need to fill it with alcohol or need a little extra pigment in something. These are really nice and handy to have, and it stacks efficiently and stacks well. The nice thing about having something like this is I can set this up in moments. All of my bottles with all of my solvents I have in here as well. So this is my 99% alcohol. This is my Mirror State. This is my Kiehl's Blue Astringent Final Seal. I have 70% alcohol in here as a sterilizer. So I have all of this stuff in here, and all I have to do is set them up, and then boom, I'm ready to go. Alcohol filled, ready to roll. The other thing I have in here as well, some little sunscreen, some more lotion, little flashlight. Oh, well, I think my little flashlight needs some new batteries. That's what I think. Either that or it's a crappy flashlight. Could be both. Had that in there, handy to have. My little CC cup holder, a little spot in there for my brushes so I can, you know, hold a brush at the same time as I'm holding my CC cups. Great for having your glue in here, but that's usually hanging out back here as well. And again, this is one of those things that having a kit like this allows me to literally put this onto the station, open it up, and ready to go. And when you're ready to be done at the end of the night, it all folds up pretty easily too. You slide your bottles back in, get those set, CC cups back in, you put your lotion back in, close it up, good to go. And just like the makeup kit, up top, I do have more fun stuff. Here, hair dryer, keep this on hand. Got some little scrubby brushes here if I'm dealing with some lace hair pieces. And again, cape, always have a cape. And then of course my glass palette. So this is usually something that comes out too with every start of the show. So this will go onto my station and then I can just work right off of this. But again, it all folds up really nicely, really neatly into a box. Looks nice. You look like you know what you're doing when you come in. And it all folds up at the end of the day. Now, I'm sure you were looking at that last box and you're like, yeah, but Adam, where are your adhesives? Oh, don't worry. I have a secondary bag for those. Again, just like the other two, same size as the makeup bag, same size as that other effects bag. There you go. Similar sort of thing over here with solvents and everything else. Brushes and tools. Of course, I've got my glue brushes all up in here. Removal brushes over here. Got my ITs. I've got some mascara wands, some tiny little micro dental brushes. All my tools are in this side over. So I've got everything from tweezers. These are great for holding little red sponges. If you're going ahead and you're trying to blend off an edge or something like that. So these are all over here. Of course, you know, all sorts of spatulas and things like that I have tucked up in here. Scissors, some larger spatulas up top, some little stompers. And then as far as everything goes in here, again, more solvents. You know, I've got some Top Guard, some Prozade, some Sweat Stop, some Spray Blood. I've got all my spray dirts down here as well. Hand sanitizer, super helpful to have. Don't leave home without it. I've got some fine rubber dust. This stuff is great. So if you want to have something where you're looking for some dirt particulate, this is essentially just ground rubber. So if you have some glue or adhesive or something like that, or you can take some Final Seal or Pro Seal, use this. This adds wonderful texture to dirt makeups if you're doing it. So this is something that I always have with me as well. I have all of my dirts. These are all of the Fleet Street Dirtwork products. I have all of those colors in here, so I can go through and I can pull these colors out at any given time if need be. Got some Old Age Stipple off here in the back, so if I do need to do an Old Age Stipple or something like that, I do have that on hand. Need to add some slime? Great. We got slime. Got that in the back. So again, a lot of those Ultra products I have back here. Again, this is a fantastic slime. I don't get to use it all that often, but it's fun when you do. Of course, I've got some Ultra Wet back there. And some Ultra Pus as well. I actually just did a job, kind of an independent job with a video production company here in town that was showing off a new bandage for a new medical product. So they needed an oozing open wound, so I sculpted that for them, and this pus definitely came in handy for that. Got my Prozade cream back here, big old tub of that, and then I have all sorts of silicone adhesive. So whether we want to use Silabond on something, or whether we want to use some Telesis 8 on something, or if we want to use some Westmore silicone adhesive. I like having these on hand. When you work with different makeup artists, everybody has their own personal preference on which sort of glue they like to use. I like to have the 3 major ones that are out there right now. I like to have those on hand, so I am comfortable with using any of them. But if I'm working with an artist who's not maybe necessarily comfortable with Silabond or Telesis, and I like to use Westmore instead, the last thing I want is to be working with another makeup artist who feels uncomfortable in their situation. The moment you feel uncomfortable, you start doubting yourself as an artist. And the worst thing that can happen to you is if you start doubting what you're doing, then all of a sudden the art falls apart. And I want to make sure that being a part of a team player, I'm working with my fellow makeup artist and we're working together efficiently as a team. This is one of those small things that I like to do on set that kind of helps us work together as a team to create a really cool makeup. Oh, and then lastly, I have a little bit of monostat back here too, because again, that stuff is, I use that stuff all the time. It's great. And even though I showed you all the effectsy stuff, you're probably thinking, well, Adam, you use palettes all the time. Where are those? Oh, just you wait. These guys make this really tiny bag too. This bag is fantastic. Check this out. If you're a fan of the Skin Illustrator palettes, how easily all those fit in there. It's great. And the nice thing about this too is depending on the station that you have in the trailer, not every trailer has this, but a lot do. A lot of times this bag will fit evenly in that drawer. So all I have to do is drop this bag in the drawer, pull out the drawer, and this bag is right in here. And I can flip through and go, oh, complexion palette, John Adams palette, American Horror. Do I need the Blood and Sand palette? Do I need a Skin Illustrator palette? Do I need... Oh, look, I've got one of those little guys over here. Oh, the old Splodger Duo palette. They all fit nice and easy. And this is just a really great way to organize all of my Skin Illustrator palettes. Okay, so for the effects kit essentials, there's going to be some overlap from your beauty kit. Again, look at your solvents. Your 99% alcohol, your 70% alcohol. You're going to have that in your beauty kit as well as your effects kit. So that's one of those things I usually bring both. That way I'm not double packing. You're going to want some sort of makeup sealer, whether that be a pro seal or whether that be a final seal. You're going to want a handful of Skin Illustrator palettes or other alcohol-based palettes. I like to use the Light Skin Illustrator palette. I like to use the Effects palette. I like to use the Dark Skin Effects palette and the Grunge palette. Those 4, pretty much, I can do just about everything with those. You're going to need some no-color powder to set your prosthetics. On the adhesive front, you're going to want to bring a silicone adhesive of your choice, whatever you're comfortable with. You're going to want some Pros-Aid. You're going to want some Pros-Aid cream. Again, for anything prosthetics-wise, you're going to use those adhesives for. You're going to want some opsite tape. Again, duct tape and Makeup Effects comes in handy. You're going to need a makeup cape. I would suggest bringing some tattoo pens. Not a deal killer if you don't have them. You could reproduce that color in your Skin Illustrator effects palette. But if you're on a job with a lot of tattoo work, having those tattoo pens on hand is really helpful. Of course, a bunch of effects brushes. I usually pick mine up from Michael's. They're just paint brushes that you pick up in the art section, but have a handful of different sizes where the tips are feathered a little bit differently. All of those really help to have on hand. Of course, bring a makeup cape. You're going to want some expendables in your kit. You know, some sponges, puffs, Q-tips, ITs, those sorts of things come in handy. You're going to want a removal bowl as well as your removal brushes. Of course, you're going to need some glue brushes. I know I picked up a handful from Michael's that are just art brushes that I kind of bent myself. I also have some Delium Tools glue brushes in my kit. Between those two, I usually am covered on that front. Of course, some hand sanitizer. You're going to want some acetone, of course, if you're going to be blending out your edges on silicone prosthetics. You're going to need a handful of tools, scissors, spatulas, tweezers, all those little things. And then lastly, you're going to need a hairdryer. And so that's my list of essentials for an effects kit. Pretty much with all of those items in there, you could pretty much do everything you would need to do if you got called in for an effects job. Now, if they're looking for something specific, of course, those specific items, a lot of time, makeup departments and productions will provide that for you. But most of the time, this is a very standard, well-rounded effects kit that'll allow you to do pretty much a little bit of everything. And last but not least, I'm sure you're thinking, what about your airbrush paints, all that stuff? How do you travel with all that? Well, they have a big bag too. It's a bit of a behemoth, but I'm glad it's big, and this is why. There you go. You've got your larger airbrush, you've got your Pache 8, you've got some dual actions in here. I usually keep my Leatherman multi-tool in here, which is great if you have a set screw or something like that you need to get loosened up. I have all of my PAX paints back here, so if I need to jump in and do a little shibui on somebody, I've got that here. I've got some European body art colors in here that I kind of keep right here next to my compressor. Oh yeah, that's right. If you pick up the Ninja Jet from Iwata, this thing fits perfectly in this bag. So now I don't have to have a separate thing for my compressor. It just sits in here nice and evenly with everything else. Also, I have the bulk of my Skin Illustrator colors that I like to use on a pretty regular basis. Obviously, it's not all of them that exist, but, you know, it's the ones that I end up using most often. So, you know, your natural one, I go through a lot. Chocolate, I use a lot. Of course, my olive adjuster. This thing gets a ton of use. And so I have all those in here, and if you can see, I have them all labeled on the top, so you know exactly what color you're pulling, so you can pull them out really quickly and really easily. I've worked with makeup artists before that have little flip tops for these. Sometimes the flip tops don't always seal all the way, so sometimes they leak, so I just keep the caps on them. And then of course I have my little nozzles back here in a bag that I can kind of pull out at any given time. So this is my airbrush kit, and again, this is super handy because it is so big. I can fit this compressor in here, and I can just travel in with another one of these boxes. And last but not least, there is an upper compartment up here. And the nice thing about this upper compartment, it is huge. This has got so much room in here, so I can take full cans of stuff. So for my shaving kit, I've got my clipper side in here. I've got some aerogel if I'm doing some sort of hair work and I need to make sure that the hair is not going to move. I've got that in here. I've got some extra sponges. All the extra attachments for my airbrush I've got up top. I've even got refills on a lot of these Skin Illustrator colors, especially the ones that I go through quite often. I kind of keep some larger refill versions up there. You know, another little stop kit here with all sorts of finger trimmers and everything else. So I've got that up here. I have some trays. You might be wondering what these are for. I like keeping these trays in here, so if you're dealing with lace hair pieces, especially facial pieces, mustaches, beards, anything like that, these are really handy for filling up with 99% alcohol so you can clean those beards efficiently. So I have those up here as well. Some extra large sealers, some Derma Shield, I've got that up here, some extra cotton rounds. I think there's a wax palette in there as well. Again, another great large compartment to hold some of these larger things and allows enough space where you can efficiently organize everything. Now, my last two bags that I need to talk about are both very, very important. Number one, this is my shave kit. So all of my shavers are located in this guy. I've got my Bronze Series 7 in here. This is a great razor, great shaver. Gets a very, very, very smooth finish. I know I was told to pick up one of these when I was working on Black Panther. I ran the Korean in it for that show, and so we were doing one of the Okoye stunt doubles. And this was our big requirement for shaving their heads. Usually hair would take care of the bulk of it, but then we would go in with this shaver and shave the rest to get a nice smooth finish. That way we could put all the head tattoos on. But this is a great razor to have. The other nice thing about this is it doesn't give you any of those ingrown hairs. I know that's an issue, especially if you use a straight razor. I know I used a straight razor for years and years, and I would get all sorts of ingrown hairs. But the moment I switched to this, it gets close enough to make it feel like your face is smooth, yet it doesn't cut the hair so far that it grows under the skin and gives you those oh so lovely razor burn and those little ingrown hair pimples, which are just lovely. But this is a good one to have. Of course, I have my one blade. These are just, you know, great to have because they're quick, they're easy. I know I can do, like if somebody's got like a week of growth, I won't use this guy. I'll go in with this first and get that off. Then I'll go in with this to make it nice and smooth. So either way, there are so many different ways to do this. There's so many different ways to, skin a cat, if you will. This is another great tool. This one I really like, especially if you have an actor that you're continuity-wise, you're trying to keep a beard length a certain length, because this has your millimeter settings on here. You can pick the beard length, and as you can see, the guide is moving accordingly. So this is one of those things that if you establish that, oh, my actor is going to be at a 5.5 for the rest of the movie, well, great. You have it set to this, and the beard is always going to match exactly every single time. And on top of that, I do have some 10 skin, so if you do want a little bit of aftershave, you've got that in here as well. Another great little razor, just a wall general purpose buzzer. This guy is really solid. Also, as you can see, all of these are battery operated. You know, I like to have the battery operated stuff so you can always be nimble and always be moving. Just gotta make sure you keep them charged. And then of course the rest of this bag, I've got the Remington Face Saver, pre-shave powder. So this is great too if you want to go in with this before you shave with this or with this. Again, this powder is great to have on hand. Works like a shaving cream does when you do a straight razor wet shave. And then of course, chargers and guards and attachments and nose hair trimmers. Make sure to have one of these. I know in my last video I had a very close shot of my nose and my wife teased me that I had nose hair sticking out. Guess what I forgot to use? Alright, so for your airbrush and shave kit, again, a little bit of overlap, just like our other ones, but again, first and foremost, 99% alcohol. That way you can thin down your alcohol paints with your airbrush. I would get a compressor. I've got two major compressors that I use. I have my Ninja Jet, which I showed in the video. I also have a larger compressor, so if I'm on a job where I need a lot of really heavy spraying, or I'm doing a ton of work, I will usually use that bigger one. But for the most part, that Ninja Jet compressor will take care of 90 to 95% of my airbrushing needs. I would get a Pache H airbrush. Those things are great. They're the workhorses of makeup effects. The nice thing about it is you get a nice even coat. If you turn that pressure up, and if you drop the pressure down and open up that cone, you can get a great spatter pattern with that airbrush. I find myself doing most of my airbrushing with that. I very rarely use that dual action airbrush. Every now and again I will, but honestly, I made it in this industry for years and years and years with just my Pache H. I've only recently, in the past couple of years, gotten a dual action and started futzing with that a little bit. So if I can make it that long with a Pache H, and only a Pache H, so can you. You're going to want a handful of Skin Illustrator colors. Now the list that I have here on screen right now, those are the basics. I find that with this list of colors, I can do pretty much everything I need to do airbrush-wise. So for the Skin Illustrator colors, if you have the colors that I have listed on screen, that'll pretty much get you through most makeups that you'll do. Between your lighter skin tone colors like your natural one and your rice paper, and your darker skin tone colors with the chocolate and the midnight brown, and then the adjuster colors in between will allow you to push and pull on those different colors to really fine-tune it into your actor's skin. I find if you have those handful of colors, you could pretty much do most of what you would need to do with an airbrush. On the shave kit front, again, you don't need a ton. That one blade by Philips is great because not only is it fast and effective, it's also really cheap. I think you could pick it up for about 20 bucks at Walmart or Target or any of those stores. I would get a Peanut by Wall. I don't technically have a Peanut in my kit. My little silver buzzer kind of works as a Peanut for me, but the Peanut is kind of a standard that everybody uses, and everybody talks about those guards, whether it's a 1 or 2 or a 3 on a Peanut. So make sure you have one of those in your kit. I like having 10 skin and that Remington shave stick just to be prepared. Not everybody's going to need it. Not everybody's going to want to use it, but having it there for those actors that do request it is really helpful. Of course, you're going to want some clipper side, especially if you're working in background, because you're going to be cleaning those buzzers. You're going to be cleaning your tools between uses. So cleanliness is really, really important. So make sure you have that on hand. And then lastly, make sure you have a handful of trimmer attachments, whether they be guards for your Peanut or whether they be attachment for your buzzers. that can turn it from just a hair trimmer to a nose hair trimmer, or you're looking for those little specialty guys with the little narrow gauges and stuff like that. Also really helpful to have. So make sure you have a handful of those with you too. And for my last very super important bag, and this is a must if you're working on set, but you have to have a set bag. This is my set bag. It needs a clean. It is very well loved at this point. This bag is probably about 10 years old at this point, so it is very, very durable. Honestly, I think it's an ammo bag. So if you wanted to carry, rounds of ammunition, I believe that's what this bag is designed for. But it's also great for holding all sorts of makeup. They've got some great spots up top, great little pouches to hold all of these brushes. They're all lined up here along the back. So I've got my tools, I've got some of my Delian brushes right over in here, some other just general brushes along the side. I've got some glue brushes tucked back in here as well. The other nice thing is as you can see with it standing up straight, it holds these Skin Illustrator palettes standing up straight. So I went ahead and put a little label at the end so I can see in my bag when I'm looking at it like this, which ones are where. And the reason I like this is because it's a large open compartment, so I can hold a full-size water spray bottle. I have an Evian in there right now, but a lot of times I will carry a refillable water bottle in there, so I can use that for sweat or anything else. Some no color powder, especially if you're doing some makeup effectsy stuff. This is great to have in your bag. If you're working with background and you need to sanitize stuff, I have little 70% alcohol in a spray bottle. That's always in here. Some aerogel if you're doing hair work, beard work, if you hand laid hair or anything like that. This is great to have in there as well. Of course, you need your bottle of 99% alcohol. I always have this little squeeze bottle in there. If I'm doing any sort of effectsy stuff that I'm doing with bruising under the eye or anything else, I have a Ben Nye bruise wheel in here. This comes in handy a lot of the time. And then, of course, I've got a little palette back there if I need for any particular reason. I've got some wet ones back there that I have on hand. These are always helpful to have on set. So that's usually what I have in here, and I will pack this up depending on the job. Sometimes I'll have more makeup-y stuff in there. Sometimes I'll have more effectsy stuff in there. It just really depends on the job. And as you can see, I've got these front compartments as well. These front compartments, in this one, hand sanitizer, which luckily the spray is right here. So at any given time, I can very quickly give myself a hand sanitizing spray, and I never have to remove this from the bag. I have a little flip top here, and this has got some top stick in here. I've got some eye teas in here, some lip ones. I have some eye drops. Eye drops are super helpful to have on set if you have an actor who gets up in his eye or her eye. This is something that a lot of times the medic will have, and if it's a medical emergency, then absolutely the medic should be doing this. But if you get something where you've got an actor who is feeling a little something in the corner of their eye or something, and they're asking for an eye drop, this is good to have on hand. Toothpicks, which I am out of. I need to refill this. Shame on me, I am slacking. So I have that in this compartment. Second compartment, you're thinking about all the things that you could possibly need on set, right? If your actor needs sweat or needs to look shiny, well, I have some MAC lip gloss in here, which works well for that. Also works great if you're trying to add some shine to some lips. Of course, I've got another monostat in here as well. Got some sunscreen in here. Got extra mascara in here. If somebody needs some Aquaphor for their lips, or if you want to go with the Australian version of that, you've got some Paw Paw ointment, which works well for that as well. Some generic like eye black in there, some oil blotting sheets, those are in there. Of course, almost most importantly, gum, having that in there. You don't want to be the guy with stinky breath. But having all this, again, another sunscreen option. Sunscreen's a big thing. You don't want your actors to get burned. And then lastly over here, I've got a couple generalized tooth palettes if I need to jump into that for any particular reason. Got some tattoo pens tucked off in here. I have an extra brush, which I misplaced, and I now found it. Woohoo! Win. Little comb in here if you need, if you're doing hair work or anything else. This is great to have. You need that on set. This guy is like an emergency alcohol backup pen. So if I run out of alcohol on set, I have this little bit of alcohol in this pen. So at any given time, I can take this and squeeze it. You see that drop of alcohol right there? This is a great little in a pinch, oh shoot, I need to do this now. This is a big part of the job, is making sure you're building redundancy into your kit, making sure you're building redundancy into what you've got going on set. The last thing you want to be doing is finding yourself in a pinch where camera's about to roll and you need to fix something and you don't have the supplies to do it. We've all been there, but you want to make sure you're avoiding that as much as you can, because it's an awful feeling. You don't want to go through it. And then on this side of my bag, over here by all my brushes, I've got chip brushes and stuff like that. So if I need to, you know, flick blood on somebody, I've got a little spatter brush that I can do that with. Again, other brushes for blood work or whatnot. I have my dirt brush. This brush is super nasty. It is clean, surprisingly enough, but it is great for just getting in there and pounding out color. This brush is fantastic for it. So the funkier the brush, the better it is for dirt, doing stuff like this. Another generalized powder brush, have that on hand. In this pouch, I've got a smattering of blood options. So I've got some Fleet Street drying paste in there. I've got a mix of Fleet Street Fresh and Dark. I also have some EBA, some European body art blood in there. Got some mouth blood in here. Good to have. This is always super important to have. You know, you'll have an actor or you'll have a director at the very last minute go, put some blood in their mouth. And you want to make sure you've got the stuff that is safe to put in their mouth. So always, always, always have this in your set bag, especially if you're doing effect stuff. Some more mouth blood. So I've got a couple of those in there. And these last two items are my gel blood. So gel blood is just a nice, thick, nasty blood. You can use this for doing some quick cuts and scratches. If you want to do something really quick in a pinch, this will kind of save the day on that front. Sometimes this will just help to muck stuff up and fill things in. And if you're trying to go in and you don't feel like bringing this whole container in, I had a makeup artist friend of mine show me this. You could take a little lip balm container and fill that in with some blood. And so you can go in and just push it up. If you're ready, go in there with a spatula, get your blood, and then that way all you have to do is go in with this, this, and this, and you could do a scratch in seconds on set if you need to. Super handy to have. And then you're not carrying a whole lot, because you start carrying this bag on a regular basis, it gets heavy. So having this sort of stuff on hand is really helpful. And if you're curious about how this blood works, let me show you. You can just get a little bit. And you can just kind of very quickly make yourself a scratch. Is that the best looking thing you've ever seen? No. Is it effective from way back here? Yeah. You could probably get away with that. And if you had more than 20 seconds, you could finesse it with a little bit of water. And a little spritz in there. Get a tissue. And boom, there you go. Not the best thing you'll ever see in the world, but pretty effective. And again, you can do this in a pinch if need be. If you look at the timer, I think that was less than 60 seconds to get that. So, you know, it's one of those things that you gotta be nimble. The more you do this stuff, the more you get comfortable with it. But the more you do it, the more you realize that if you have certain tools and if you make life easier for yourself as you continue along with this stuff by having things like this on hand, having things like this on hand, making sure you have the right tools on hand, you can respond and move to this stuff really quickly. And all of a sudden, instead of being somebody that production is waiting on, you become the hero on set, which is kind of a nice feeling to have. Now, the last couple really important things to have as part of your set bag, the things that I really like to have as part of my set kit, is this little bag over here. Now, as you can see, it is attached to my set bag. Normally, it doesn't stay this way. Normally, I unhook this guy, and this turns into Kleenex box, trash can, and then this little pouch, I have generically colored earplugs. If you're on set and you are working on, say, an action movie or anything that has gunfire, ear protection is really, really important. Now, a lot of times the prop department will have ear protection and will hand them out to the crew and will hand them out to the actors. But the problem is, a lot of times they'll get these really neon green, earplugs or orange earplugs or something like that. And it doesn't always work with the actor's ears. Obviously, you don't want to see the earplug in there. So we have these generically colored, skin colored earplugs, and I have some that are a little bit lighter. I have some that are a little bit darker. I have some in here that are a little bit redder. You know, there are all sorts of different earplugs in this bag that I end up using pretty regularly on set. So it's always helpful to have this. Nobody wants to be waiting for somebody to get earplugs in. So having this on hand is really helpful. And then the other thing I end up doing is this usually just gets strapped to my belt like so. So I can walk around and I can have these ready to pull out whenever I need. Also, if you're doing a lot of blood work and if you don't have gloves on, you're going to find yourself washing your hands a lot, using a lot of water. Using these, I usually have shaving cream either in my bag or in my set chair. I have that in there so I can quickly get rid of any staining that anybody's going to have. So having this is handy. Of course, earplugs handy. And then my little trash can. So I can get rid of stuff on the fly and I'm not dropping stuff on set. This is really, really helpful to have. The last thing that I think I'm going to add is I had some friends of mine on Guardians create, and I think it's back here on the wall actually, a little pouch. I don't know if you've seen this pouch back here on my wall, but this pouch was made by a couple friends of mine while they were on Guardians. Two fellow makeup artists made this little pouch. Mo and Kale, handmade with love. So I think what I'm going to start doing is I think I'm going to stitch a little thing on the side of this, and it can get added to my belt with my tissues and trash cans. The reason why I want to add this little pocket to my belt is because I'm going to start putting sweat mops on the inside of this. Sweat mops, especially if you're a makeup artist that works anywhere in the South or near the South, or have spent any time in Georgia, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, any southern states, shoot, even if you've been in New Jersey in the summertime, it gets hot. You're going to have actors who are going to be on set and they're going to sweat. So we have sweat mops, which are essentially just paper towels that are nice and folded up. You can take a paper towel, give it to an actor, give it to a background person, or do it yourself, and just pat them down. But having this, like this, attached to my bag is another great way to go. Okay, and lastly, set bag. First and foremost, find a bag that's comfortable. Don't get something really super big because then you'll be likely to overload it and you're going to throw off your back or screw up your back. I know makeup artists have been doing this for years and years that had back problems because of how heavy their set bags were. So I would try to keep it minimal yet functional. Okay, so first off, having your solvents in there, your 99% alcohol, having a bottle for that, having your 70% alcohol for any sterilization that you might need to do while on set. You're going to want to have your acetone in there, especially if you're dealing with prosthetics. You know, if you have a little part that lifts and you need to get in there and knock it down a little bit, an edge that's starting to pop up, having that acetone is really helpful. Having a couple skin illustrator palettes in your bag, also really important. Having a little no color powder is also helpful to have in your bag. Of course, having your silicone adhesive that you like, have that in your bag. So that way, if you have an edge that pops on a prosthetic, you can glue it down real quick between takes. I find having opsite tape in my bag in case of emergencies is also really helpful. Have a handful of general set bag brushes that just stay in your set bag. That way, every time you take your bag to set, you always know you've got your handful of brushes that you like that are permanently in that bag. It's a great way to organize things and make sure that you're not losing things and transferring things from your station to your bag. Have some gum in your bag. Don't want the stinky breath. Have a handful of oil blotters in there. Again, more of a makeup thing, but at the same time, you know, you're going to get those moments where you got an actor with a shiny nose or you're an actor with a shiny forehead or something like that. Having those oil blotters in there, whether you're doing beauty or makeup effects, super helpful. Having blood in your bag and having a variety of them. You know, having your dress blood, your gel blood, your mouth blood, great to have in there. Make sure you have a handful of expendables in there. Make sure you've got your Q-tips in there, your tissues. Make sure you've got puffs and sponges. Make sure you have those things on hand because you never know when the need's going to arise for you to use one of those. Of course, toothpicks and flossers, have those in your set bag. Actors ask for that all the time. Make sure to have lip balm in there. Make sure to have sweat in there. Make sure to have anti-shine in there. Have those handful of things in there. That way you're ready to respond if the need arises. Of course, you're going to want some hand sanitizer in your bag. You're going to want your water spray bottle in there. And then lastly, have some tools that just live in your set bag, just like your brushes. Make sure you've got some tweezers in there, some spatulas in there. Make sure you have those items in there. That way you're not jumping between your kit and your station. That's a really good way to lose things. So having them in your set bag permanently is always a great way to go. Oh, and have some nail trimmers in there too. You'll never know when an actor will ask you between takes, hey, do you get some nail clippers? And then you're like, sure. So it happens all the time. So make sure you have those in there too. So now I'm sure you're thinking, how in the world do you carry all this stuff to the trailer? That is a very good question. And I have a solution for that too. And that comes in the form of this guy. This is a very handy folding, rolling dolly. So this brand is called Kedsum, and I just picked this up within the past couple months. I love it so far. So I go ahead and open it up. Of course, this will telescope all the way up. This guy will pop out if you need some extra room here. And I usually start out with my airbrush bag. So I'll put that on first, followed by my makeup bag. Let's telescope that arm up. Effects bag number 1, effects bag number 2. Again, it's tall. You're gonna have a lot on here, but it works really well. Now, I'm sure you're thinking about those other smaller bags that I was showing you. Where in the world are we gonna put those? Again, that's where this thing comes in handy, is that just pops out. I can stick this bag on here, and I can stick my Skin Illustrator bag here if I'd like, or I can put that up here. Either way, I'll use my elastic straps to hold it all in place. And boom, you're ready to go. And the nice thing about this too is it's not just something you lean back and walk with, though you can. These front 2 wheels on this guy have a little bit of a swivel to them. So I can swivel it in any direction I need it to go. So this is a really great compact way to go if you need a little bit of everything on the show, which sometimes I find myself doing not only effectsy stuff but beauty stuff all in the same day. This is where this whole kit comes in handy. And if I don't need one of these bags, then I just stick it under the station and I don't even open it up. But I'm at least there and I'm prepared just in case something gets thrown at you that you weren't expecting. This is a really great compact way to pack your kit and make sure that you can get it in and out of your car efficiently and quickly and get it set up efficiently and quickly. So much of this job is being efficient with your time and getting to where you need to be when you need to be there. And if you can save a couple seconds off in doing this, this is a really great way to go. When I first started out with my career, I would pull out all sorts of weird bins of stuff, brushes in one container and sponges in another container, and I had these containers basically falling out of boxes. That's not what you want. You look like a goofball when you're setting up, and you feel like you're the Clampets that just kind of pulled up on your way to Beverly Hills. You've got stuff everywhere. Don't be that person. You want to make sure that you are taking up the least amount of space in a trailer. You're not interfering with the folks who are there regularly, especially if you're day playing. So this I find, is a really good, elegant and efficient way to bring a little bit of everything to make sure that you're covered. You'll have everything you need for any given day. All right, so here's my massive trunk, and this thing's huge. If you're going to travel for a job, do not take this thing to the airport, because I think it will probably be oversized. You have to check your specific airlines, because a lot of times those airlines will have weight limits and size limits. So if you have something oversized like this, it's really easy to put a whole bunch of stuff in it, and all of a sudden it becomes way too heavy. I've actually done this before where I tried to put everything in one bin and it was way too heavy. So my key, who was traveling with me, I had to call her up real quick and ask her to bring another extra bag. And I looked like some schlep in the middle of the airport, basically pulling stuff out of a trunk and throwing it into a bag and splitting it apart between a whole bunch of different bags for an international flight. It was awful. Don't do that. Learn from my mistake. But because I am traveling domestically, and production is taking this box for me, this is going to be the thing that I'm going to use, because I can fit most everything in it. And there you have it. That's the bulk of everything I'm going to take. I pretty much have all of my solvents. I've got all of my glues. I've got all of that stuff kind of already preset in these bags. Of course, I've got my set bag here, my shaver stuff, my battery charging station and cleaning station for my shaver, which I will probably set up on my station. And because I will have a station set up, I will probably be putting some extra bins in here. Just some extra smaller things that I can hold product in. I will probably take some of these things out of some of these bags and set it up on my station a little bit more formally. So I'll probably place those things in there. But that should give me enough room to do what I need to do. And the nice thing about this bin is it's nice and rugged. It's got wheels and handles. So this thing should travel really well and will serve me well on this next job. So now, as you can see, that's kind of how I pack things up for a 2-week gig. You can imagine how much extra packing you're going to need if you're going to be a little bit longer. If you're doing a gig for a couple months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, you'll notice that you'll be bringing more materials. Also depends on what you're doing. If you're just there as a makeup artist, that's one thing. I've worked many jobs where I'm running makeup effects on site. And so my kit expands at that point because I'm bringing a mini shop essentially with me on those jobs. So you'll see large amounts of those black and yellow bins that you can pick up from Home Depot. I'll pack everything in there, and production will usually come and pick that stuff up and transport it for me. Now, when I have traveled internationally before, I usually pack up 2 different kits. I will pack up one kit that production will take with all of my goods. I will have my flammables in a different box. Now, that's really important because when you're traveling by air and you're shipping this stuff by air, flammables are a big no-no if they're not packaged correctly. And there are companies out there that will specifically package flammable goods for flammable hazardous shipments. So I've gotten very used to, over the years, segmenting off my flammables into a different box and sending that separately. Now that can run into problems, especially if you're going to a location that you can't easily get this stuff. When I was in Korea for Black Panther, our flammable shipment went missing. Now, we got very lucky. There was a makeup shop there in Seoul that was able to send us what we were missing, essentially, in Busan, so that wasn't a problem. But in the interim, we, through miscommunication, ordered the wrong alcohol. We ended up ordering ethyl alcohol as opposed to 99% isopropyl alcohol. Now, come to find out, ethyl alcohol will work with your palettes and your airbrush makeups. It's something to keep in mind. You find these little workarounds sometimes if the situation requires it. So keep an open mind. So if you have your flammable shipment, of course, your silicone adhesives are in there. Make sure you have something like Prozaid, which is a water-based adhesive. Put that in your carry-on bag and take that with you on the plane. So then that way, when you get there, you actually have something to glue down in case your flammables goes missing. I also find that's really helpful with your palettes as well. So your effects palettes, have those on hand, your Illustrator palettes. That way you can get those colors out of there, because those are inert before you put the alcohol in there. The other thing, if you're traveling internationally, you're going to have to keep in mind that you'll have to put together a manifest list. And you might be thinking, well, what's a manifest list? How does that work? Essentially, you'll get a large spreadsheet from the production or their shipping coordinator, and they'll ask you to fill out all of the items that you're shipping, and you're listing them out one by one. You're listing the country of origin. You're listing how much that product is and its value. So you have to be really, really organized when you're sending stuff in to make sure that everything's listed out properly so there's no problem with shipping. I used to ship for years and years when I worked at a makeup effects lab in Los Angeles, and this was one of the big parts of it, was shipping weird, wacky materials, the sorts of materials that we use on a pretty regular basis. So I had to make sure that all of that was properly listed and documented. The last thing you want is your box to get held up at customs because something looks weird or you missed something on a sheet. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, in a lot of countries, if you ship something in, what goes in has to come out, because they're looking at duties and fees and taxes, and if you're bringing stuff in from another country, that means you're not buying the stuff there in that country, and that's also an issue. So they want to make sure they're getting taxed properly for this stuff. So if you bring stuff in, a lot of time that stuff has to go out. Keeping good communication lines open with your shipping manager who works for the studio or works for a production company is really, really, really important, because those people can either make or break your day. I luckily have not really had a ton of issues in shipping back and forth when I'm on a project. I'm usually a little anal retentive when I go through these manifests and I list out all the stuff on there. I just want to make sure all my T's are crossed, all my I's are dotted, because the last thing I want to do is find myself in some foreign location off in the middle of nowhere where I can't get this stuff. Then it's up to me to figure it out. So make your job easier. Do your homework beforehand, get all that done, and then you're good to go. So in the meantime, what did you think? Have you ever packed up a kit before? Have you ever traveled to a distant location to shoot a movie or a project or a TV show? And also let me know, are there products that you like to use? Do you have things in your kit that you just can't live without? Definitely let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you like the video, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe to the channel. And of course, as I always say, be safe out there and keep making cool stuff.